What if I told you that Adam was a dirt-born slave created by a false god who was envious of the true divine beings, rather than the first human being at all? This isn't some New Age fantasy. In a banned ancient text that the church has been concealing for almost 2 millennia, Adam himself confesses this truth. And everything you believe to be true about God, humanity, and your own divine nature will be completely destroyed by what Adam reveals. See, there's this forbidden book called the Apocalypse of Adam, where Adam himself drops the most explosive confession in religious history. He's not talking to some priest or prophet, he's talking directly to his son Seth, and he's telling him the real story of what happened before Genesis, before the garden, before any of the lies you were fed in Sunday school. And what Adam says should make every religious leader on the planet break out in a cold sweat. Adam looks his son dead in the eye and says, "I went about with Eve in a glory which she had seen in the eon from which we had come forth." Adam is saying that he and Eve already existed in glory before this world even existed. They came from another eon, another dimension of reality entirely. This isn't the story of 2 naked people wandering around a garden looking for fruit. This is the story of divine beings who existed in radiant power before they ever touched physical matter. But that's just the beginning of Adam's confession. He continues, "She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God. We resembled the great eternal angels, for we were higher than the God who had created us." Did you catch that bombshell? Adam flat out admits that he and Eve were higher than the God who created their physical forms. Not equal to, not blessed by, higher than, more powerful than the deity who supposedly made them from dirt. Think about what that means for a second. The first humans weren't groveling servants created to worship some cosmic tyrant. They were divine beings who outranked the very entity that claimed to be their creator. This completely flips the entire biblical narrative on its head. You've been told your whole life that humans are lowly, broken, sinful creatures who need to beg for forgiveness from an all-powerful God. But according to Adam himself, humans were originally divine beings who were superior to the God who made their physical forms. We weren't created to serve. We were created to be enslaved by a lesser deity who couldn't handle our true power. And here's where Adam's confession gets absolutely devastating. He reveals what happened when this so-called God realized that Adam and Eve were more powerful than him. Then God divided us in wrath. Then we became 2 eons. This wasn't some gentle surgical procedure like the rib story in Genesis. This was a violent act of cosmic rage. The deity that claimed to be the supreme God saw these divine beings in unity and couldn't stand their power, their glory, their connection to something higher than himself. So in pure spite and jealousy, he ripped them apart. Adam and Eve weren't originally 2 separate people. They were a single unified divine being, whole and complete, radiating with the light of the true source. But this jealous imposter God couldn't tolerate their unity, their strength, their reminder that he wasn't actually the highest power in existence. So he split them in wrath, tearing apart their divine wholeness and casting them into separation, into duality, into the fractured state that humanity has been trapped in ever since. The consequences of this violent division were catastrophic. Adam continues his confession. "After those days, the eternal knowledge of the God of truth withdrew from me and your mother Eve. Since that time, we learned about dead things like men. The glory vanished. The divine knowledge was ripped away. Instead of being connected to the eternal source of life and light, they were suddenly reduced to dealing with dead things, the material world of decay and limitation. They went from being gods to being confused mortals, trying to make sense of a reality that felt foreign and wrong." And here's the part that should make your blood boil. Adam reveals what happened next. We recognized the God who had created us. We served him in fear and slavery. And after these things, we became darkened in our hearts. The beings who were originally higher than their creator were now bowing down to him in terror. The divine humans who once walked in glory were now slaves, their hearts darkened with confusion and amnesia about their true nature. So let me ask you the question that should be burning in your mind right now. Who the hell is this God who splits divine beings in wrath? Who is this deity who demands fear and slavery from beings who were originally more powerful than him? If Adam and Eve were higher than the God who created their physical forms, then what does that say about the entity who's been demanding your worship, your obedience, your guilt and shame for thousands of years? This isn't the loving Father that religion sells you. This is a cosmic tyrant who saw divine beings living in unity and glory and couldn't stand it. He couldn't handle the fact that there were beings more connected to the true source than he was. So he destroyed their wholeness, erased their memory, and built a system designed to keep them from ever remembering what they really were. He turned gods into slaves and then convinced them that slavery was their natural state. And if you're feeling a chill of recognition right now, if something deep inside you is saying, yes, this explains everything, then you're starting to remember. Because according to Adam's confession, you're not a broken sinner who needs to grovel for salvation. You're a fragment of those original divine beings carrying within you the same spark that made the false god so jealous that he had to split it apart and hide it from itself. The question is, are you ready to stop serving the imposter and start remembering who you really are?